Hello once again, and welcome to your Wednesday night webinar. I am your host, Mr. Rourke. No, that's Fantasy Island, totally different show. I am Patrick McGrath, Chief Clinical Officer in OCD, licensed psychologist. Happy to be here with all of you this lovely evening as we delve into another hour of discussion around everyone's least favorite topic, but most favorite topic at the same time, obsessive compulsive disorder. Brought to you by NoCD, an online platform for the treatment of OCD and related conditions like BFRBs and tics and hoarding. And we also do our NoCD 411 sessions. If you have Q&A about OCD and maybe a friend or relative who's not quite ready for primetime therapy, looking for some help, we got that too. So check us out. And we do work here in the US and take lots of insurances as well. So happy to help you with that. And also Canada, the UK, and Australia. So please check us out. Let's get into it and see what we got going on. Star says, can sexual orientation, we don't say HOCD anymore, everyone, just so you know, because it's not just about the H, it's about the B and the T and the S and all the things. So it's can sexual orientation OCD change your sexual orientation? It can definitely cause doubts about it, right? It can lead to so many uncertainties and wanting you to constantly check and assess all sorts of things. So that's really what sexual orientation OCD does, is that. Now, you're probably going to want me to directly answer that question, which I'm not going to do, because even if I said something about it, yes or no, you would say, well, okay, he said no, or he said yes. Now I should go ask other people to see if they agree. And then you'll find somebody who will agree or disagree. And then you'll be like, wait a minute, but you said, and then you'll email me and say, I know you said this, but then this person said that. And how do I know who to believe? And believe me, I've had this happen already, where I put things out on these webinars, which I love doing. But once in a while, you'll get someone who will say, one of the words you used in your answer, I just wanted to ask about, and if I could just clarify that, then I think everything will be okay. And when I get those emails, I know that that's not going to make it okay. That is certainly not going to fulfill anything or make it seem any better at all whatsoever. In fact, if I engage in this, it will probably make it worse. So I often will answer things like, I'm just going to go with whatever I said on the webinar, and then I'll get pleading emails, right? But can't you just tell me, and please, just if you could just clarify, and I'll say, yeah, I'm not going to do that, because I'm going to bet that person has already gotten answers from probably 40 or 50 other people about it already, and now they want it from me as well too. And then my answer still won't be enough. It won't be satisfying enough. And so then they'll want to go get answers from others as well. So I just have learned not to go down that rabbit hole, because it's just not going to do anything good. So what I will say to your question, can sexual orientation change sexual orientation? Sexual orientation OCD leads you to doubts and insecurities about sexual orientation. And that's what it does. Jack Londas says, you got this belief that you can't think, which is fascinating because you've typed here. I don't know how you would be able to type without thinking. So right away, we have something interesting. And this was caused when you believed that you had a blank mind syndrome. Logically, you know it's false. Wonderful. But your mind is convinced it's true and acts accordingly. What can I do? Well, if I were convinced that I was a llama, what would you tell me to do? I mean, I'm still going to work, still seeing patients. I'm still the chief clinical officer of NoCD. Still going to speak at conferences. I'm still going to train people. I just happen to be a llama. Why llama? I have no idea, but a llama nonetheless. So, Jack, what would you tell me that I should do? I logically know that I'm not a llama, but my mind is convinced it's true and acts accordingly. So I guess that means that I probably spit a lot and, I grow a lot of hair. I don't know. But one of the things that I think is important for everyone to recognize is that even a statement like this, my mind is convinced it's true. Okay, great. Your mind can absolutely be convinced something is true. It still does not make it true. Right? And I think that's where people sometimes get caught up in this notion that being convinced of something still does not make something. Right? If I'm convinced my skin is green, like you wouldn't be able to tell the difference between my skin and the water bottle that I have right now, right? Thank you to our friends at Mountain Valley Treatment Center, by the way. But if I am convinced, absolutely convinced, that my skin is green, Jack, how will that change my life? I mean, I suppose if I let it, I could hide away from people out of embarrassment that I have green skin or something of that nature. Or I could just go out and live my life being amazed at. I'm always shocked that nobody comes up to me and says, "How did you get green skin?" Because I know it's green. I'm absolutely convinced that it is. And yet no one says a word. I mean, how kind everyone really is actually to not bring up the fact that I have this absolutely green skin all of the time. So, Jack, I don't know that I'm wanting to convince you of anything at all. I want you to live your life and I want you to do things. And even if you believe that they aren't capable or true or whatever it is, and you're doing them anyway, I would think that's good enough. And eventually I believe that this being convinced of something will fade over time. I really believe that. ABF says, I'm a male with a fear I'm actually biologically female. What would ERP look like for this? Scripts, I'm not sure how to habituate to this anxiety fear. Well, again, going back to the other answer, okay, fine. You can believe that, right? And you can still absolutely live your life as a male, right? So you may absolutely believe that and have that as an obsession. And I'm sure you're doing compulsions. You don't list them here, but you may be checking constantly to see if anything changes in your body or something like that. And may I state right off the bat here for everyone, of course, as we talk about these kinds of things, anything related to sexual orientation, this is not a dislike of any orientation or anything whatsoever. This is a fear of, what if I'm not me? Right? What if I'm not the identity that I am, right? So it has nothing to do out of a dislike. It has everything to do about, what if I'm not actually me? So ABF, live your life. Go out and do all the things you've been doing. And you may be like Jack, convinced of something, even though you know that logically that is not the case, just like Jack states. Okay. Just like I will spend the rest of this week trying to convince myself that I am green. And no matter how much I do that, I don't believe it's going to affect anything about my job whatsoever or any of the work that I do. So, Edgar wonders if sexual orientation OCD can cause unwanted, intrusive feelings that you don't want or like. If so, do you just sit with the discomfort and resist your mental compulsions? Well, anytime we ask the question, can OCD cause? I think we all know the answer is sure. Absolutely. And what would we want to do with any kind of feelings that are uncomfortable? Not compulsions, that's for sure. Because if compulsions were the answer, then I would have a very different job. My job would be to give OCD to people. I would go up to people who are having difficult times and I would say to them, hey, looks like it's a kind of a rough day there. Have you considered compulsions? Have you considered developing obsessive compulsive disorder as a way to kind of get through the day? Because it looks like you could really use some compulsions. It looks like those might really, really be helpful to you. Okay. Now, of course, we don't do that. We don't go out giving compulsions to people. Nobody, I think, would agree that that would be a great idea whatsoever. Right? So that's not what we're going to do. We're not going to try to spend time giving OCD or compulsions to people. We're going to do the opposite. We're going to hopefully teach people that it's okay to be uncomfortable. It's okay to have doubt. It's okay to be uncertain. We can live that. In fact, I contend we live that on a daily basis. I have zero certainty that when I go upstairs after this webinar, that I will make it safely up the stairs. I have confidence, right? I have confidence that I can make it up the stairs without falling down the stairs. That I have. But I don't have certainty. I could fall. I could trip. It is a possibility. And so I'm wondering, Edgar, should I not go up the stairs until I have absolute certainty that I will not fall down the stairs? Or is confidence that I can do it enough? Right? Now, maybe, Edgar, you even have doubts and, you don't have enough confidence. You'll feel like, okay, well, that may take practice, right? You may develop confidence over time by getting out there, living in the world the way that you want to live in it, not the way that your OCD tells you, to not do compulsions, to do the opposite of those things, to be uncomfortable, to learn how to handle it. Those, I believe, would be the things that would help to increase your confidence. So that's ultimately what we would want you to do. MS says, you think OCD treatment information is already overwhelming. Advice on how to keep up with things without wasting so much time. MS, I'm going to bet this. You probably have enough information. OCD will tell you you don't. And that's a ploy by OCD to get you to keep researching and trying to find more information instead of doing treatment. So ultimately, what do we want you to do? We want you to do treatment. That's what we want you to do. So MS, I think a ban on that would really be the thing to do. Okay. Yeah, let's have you practice not seeking out more information and see how that goes. It may be uncomfortable, but that's okay. Is it common to experience an uptick in obsessions when you begin starving the compulsions? Of course, 100%, absolutely. The the moment that you decide not to reward the child throwing the tantrum in the store with candy, the tantrum gets worse instead of better. Well, your OCD is going to throw a tantrum. So just know that that's what it's going to do and accept the fact that it's what it's going to do, because it's a rotten child is what it is, right? Not a good child, a rotten child. So you feel like the more compulsions you resist, the more real your OCD thoughts and feelings feel. I don't think they're more real. I think they're more intense, probably because they're really trying to push you to do a compulsion to get that immediate relief from the obsession. But again, we have to make a decision that this starting today is the time I'm not going to do it. Just like I've never tried a cigarette, but I've heard from people who have quit smoking that desire, that craving, that urge to smoke when you decide to quit is hellish for a couple of days. In fact, nicotine might be one of the most difficult things to overcome due to the nicotinergic receptors that we have in our brain, and the fact that nicotine out of cigarettes binds so tightly into the nicotinergic receptors in our brain. And that's because it's such a tight seal. That's what makes the addiction so strong. The stronger that seal, the tighter it is, the heavier the addiction can be. So you're going to feel really, 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 really uncomfortable when you quit smoking. And you're going to feel really, 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 really uncomfortable when you stop doing compulsions. But it doesn't mean I can't do it, so I should just go back to smoking, or I can't do this, so I should just go back to compulsions. That's not what we would want you to do. And you say it no longer feels like OCD. And again, OCD knows these things, right? OCD is aware of that. And OCD will take it to 11 if it can to try to get you to do something. That's the nature of OCD. It's a jerk of a disorder. It's a real ass. So that's exactly what it will do. And you're right, it is a big hurdle. But if compulsions, again, were the way to go, my job would be to give OCD to people. All right? I'm not going to do that. I have a lot of confidence that I'm never going to do that. If I do, please take my license away, right? Yeah. So just remember that, right? OCD will take it to whatever level it can to try to get you to do a compulsion. It will not stop until you stop feeding it. And if OCD finds a level where you say, okay, this one just feels so real now, so I have to do a compulsion, then that's where OCD will go forever. Is there? Just know that that's the case. That's how it's going to be. Right? Now, I've used this example before, but I'll use it again. Virtual reality feels real. If I have you in a room and all around you for 300 feet is a cement floor, right? And then I put the virtual reality goggles on you and I turn it on and you look down and you are on the edge of a cliff and I ask you to step forward, you probably won't do it because you're going to feel like you're going to fall. You logically know I'm on a cement floor and there's 300 feet on any side of me, around me. There's no way that I'm falling. But it sure feels like it. OCD grabs onto that, and that's what it uses. So keep that in mind. Why does OCD cause you to question who you are, like intrusive thoughts that you're not real or human or what life is, etc.? Well, because OCD loves an existential crisis, right? I mean, there is existential OCD. So if it knows that that's the thing that gets you and bugs you and will lead you to do a compulsion, that's why it does it. I mean, And any question from tonight on, you're going to ask, why does OCD do blank? There's, I could give just one very simple standard answer, is because that will get you to do a compulsion, is the answer. So why does OCD go to this level? Because it'll get you to do a compulsion. Why does OCD make me doubt this? Because it'll get you to do a compulsion. Why does OCD cause this? Because it'll get you to do a compulsion. And what does OCD want you to do? A compulsion. Why? Because it tricks you into believing that by doing a compulsion, you stop something bad from happening. You've bought into a lie. You believe it to be true. But I don't, that doesn't make sense. I mean, because it feels so real. Now, of course it does. If it didn't feel real, I don't have a job. Hey, Dr. McGrath, guess what? I mean, I have these awful intrusive thoughts, and I mean, but they don't actually feel real. So they don't, so nothing to be concerned about. Okay, great. Well, nice to meet you. Thanks. Well, they have to feel real. Well, what would we treat if it didn't feel real? It's got to feel real. But it could feel this real. Of course it could feel that real. Why wouldn't it? Where would you get any idea that it couldn't feel as real as it feels? It can feel as real as it can be. I mean, as if you've ever woken up from a dream and you're like, oh my God, I swore, I swear I was there. Your brain has the ability to make you feel as if things are real. OCD knows that. OCD takes absolute advantage of that. That's what it does. It's going to feel real. Darla says, this isn't a question. I just look back at photos when you was younger before OCD happened. You feel like it's two separate people yet again. You're the same person just with OCD. Yeah, Darla, that could be, right? Looking at a person who maybe was more carefree and everything, who wasn't ruled by obsessions and compulsions and everything. But I always say to people, you can always strive to get back to be that person and be as carefree as you want without OCD ruling everything and getting in the way. You can absolutely get there. Adam asked, what exercises would I recommend for social anxiety? I'm a big fan of mistake practice, Adam, like going into a store or like go up to a meat counter and say, what's the difference between beef and chicken? That's fun. Go to McDonald's and order a Whopper. Just make mistakes purposefully and learn that you can handle them. Pay with the wrong amount of money for something. There's so much fear of judgment in social anxiety. So I like to have people put themselves in situations where they can be judged and learn that they can handle it better than they give themselves credit for. There's a really good book I love too called Dying of Embarrassment that I would recommend. And I think you should check that out too. Great book for social anxiety. Love is 515 says, several times you have not done a ritual and literally seconds later you get physically hurt, like a bump on your arm or something on your leg. You immediately feel that you got punished by not doing the ritual. Well, Love is 515. What I'd like you to do is go into a laboratory, and I would like you to go to one of the schools that researches OCD. And I think that we should study you under very laboratory-like conditions. So we'll have you in a room with absolutely nothing but some beanbag chairs and fluffy pillows, and we will have you have an obsession. We will have you not do a ritual, and then we'll see how this hurt comes about you. What kind of being or thing is influencing you and causing you pain. So that's what I'm going to ask you to do. Present yourself to a laboratory where you can be studied under laboratory conditions. And if it comes out that it is true that every time you do not do a ritual, you get harmed by something, then maybe we'll take a look at, maybe we've been wrong about OCD all along, and maybe there's a supernatural element to it. But what I'm going to bet, Love is 515, is that once in a while, when you don't do a ritual, you might, bump a toe or a hand or something like that. And you pay so much attention to that you miss all the other times that you don't do a ritual and don't get hurt. And you also miss the times that you do a ritual and you still bump your hand or your toe or something like that as well too. You know, there's a lot of selective biases that we know are out there for people. And so if you're looking for it, you're going to find it. And you can see that with OCD too. If you're hoping not to have a thought, guess what you're going to do? You're going to have a thought. Savannah says, I'm an ERP and OCD feels like the biggest bully right now, because it is a bully. It's a jerk. It sucks. But you don't have to believe it. You don't have to give into it. Emily says, for folks with pure O, does exposure and response prevention therapy work? Yes, because you can do ERP to mental things. Absolutely 100%. You can do ERP to mental things. So let's just take scrupulosity. And let's say that I have an intrusive thought about my afterlife, and therefore I have to say a prayer. But then I think maybe I said the prayer wrong, so I have to say it again. And then maybe I said it wrong, so I have to say it again. And I got to do it right, because if I don't, then I won't get the afterlife that I want. My ERP would be to purposely say the prayer wrong in your head and to not do anything else to try to undo it. So when we're talking about pure O, we're talking about we have obsessions, thoughts, images, urges, and we do mental compulsions as a way to neutralize them. And we would work with people on not doing their mental compulsions. That's what we would do. CL says, is it okay to repeat I may or may not have X over and over for an imaginal exposure or during exposure in general? Is it considered a compulsion? I feel like I need to in order to provoke the anxiety. So I could say, if you need to do something to provoke anxiety, why do you need to repeat it? Why not just do it one time and then be done, right? My concern would be if you have to repeat it, maybe it's starting to become like a compulsion. So I would really run that past your therapist and try to understand what is the purpose of that, right? See where that goes. Hello, Beth. Good to see you. Kel says, why doesn't ignoring intrusive thoughts work? Well, Kels, I have a PhD in psychology, and I don't even know how to ignore a thought. Nor do I ever try even anymore to ignore a thought, because I know that it's not going to go anywhere or do anything. Instead, what I do is the opposite. I accept it and then I move on. So if I tell you, Kels, don't think of a pink elephant. All right? Don't picture a pink elephant in your head. Have no pink elephant thoughts whatsoever. Ignore this thought, Kels. Do not think about this pink elephant at all. Totally, 100%, absolutely ignore it. No thoughts, no thoughts, no thoughts at all. I'm going to bet that didn't work. I suppose there's some training that could be done for it. Maybe if we bring in some Buddhist monks who can tell us about certain training they do. But I don't know anybody who knows how to just, ignore a thought. Like, oh, there it is. And it's gone, and ignoring, I'm going to say, meaning that I don't even have it to that point. Now, if ignoring is acknowledging and moving on, fantastic. And that's ultimately what we want to do. But Kels, I'm going to bet your definition of ignoring is not that. I'm thinking, if you have OCD, Kels, that your definition of ignoring is, why can't we have it never come back again? I don't know how to stop any thought from coming back. But now, Kels, if your thought is, why doesn't ignoring intrusive thoughts work? Is the ignoring you're doing actually ignoring, or is it a compulsion? Because to me, true ignoring would be acknowledging and moving on. That's what a true ignoring of something would be. So that's where I would want this to go. So, Kels, I don't know if you're still here, but maybe put in later in the chat about what are you doing, meaning by ignoring. Okay. Rock says, I struggle with OCD trying to convince me it is an OCD. Any tips? Rock, I bet every other person on this tonight would also tell you that that's happened to them as well too. And I will let everyone give you some advice on that. But no, I'll give you my piece of advice, which is, well, of course, because OCD doesn't want to go away. So why wouldn't OCD try to convince you it is an OCD so that you will leave it alone and let it be? I mean, that just makes total sense right there. So absolutely. Beth says, are there meds specific for hair pulling? Meds, that's a great question. Ben, I'm not as sure about that. I would go take a look at bfrb.org, the Body Focused Repetitive Behavior. It used to be a thing called the Trichotillomania Learning Center. But yeah, check out bfrb.org and they will probably have information on there. Or International OCD Foundation will have some as well too. Natiria says, I hyper-focus on an endless mental list of things to do. Days go by without it being done. I sleep in 2-hour intervals. I can't finish a 40-minute episode of TV. You just keep rewinding and begin something new. Okay. Well, there's a couple of things going on there. You're hyper-focused on an endless mental list of things to do, and days go by without it being done. So here's what I would do, Nataria. I would have if you have a list, right? The first thing I would do is just write down everything that's on your mental list. So I would start there. And then I would take a die and I would roll the die. And if whatever it is, 1 through 6, whatever's on your list, go do that one. Instead of you having to be the one to choose which one to do, we're going to let the fate of the die roll do it for us. And then you're going to go do that thing. And then when you come back, you can roll the die again. You could try that. Now, as for finishing a 40-minute episode of TV, you can watch it in 5-minute increments if you want to start, and then roll a die and go do something, and then come back in 5 more minutes, and then roll a die and do something, and then come back in 6 minutes, and then roll a die and do something, and then 7 minutes, and then roll a die and do, you can do it like that. You can slowly and gradually build yourself up to doing those things. I remember one of the most difficult therapy sessions I ever did with someone. And they were quite depressed. And they had a bunch of things that hadn't been done at home. And this, in my youth and naivete of therapy, didn't do a good explanation beforehand. I've since discovered this episode of treatment that a really good explanation is always warranted for things. So we get say 25 things that need to be done around the house. And I say, okay, between today and when we meet again in 3 days from now, I want you to only do these 2 things, nothing else. Which was met with the most vicious round of swearing at me that I've ever experienced in my entire life. Not only in the room, but down the hall, out the lobby, out the door, from the outside, from the car, window rolled down, various fingers pointing at me and other gestures as well too. I still stand by my advice. I don't stand by the fact that I didn't do a good explanation. So let me give a better explanation here. And in case that person's listening, maybe this will finally be the explanation that I ought to have done so many, over 20 years ago. If you're doing nothing, expecting to do everything is not a good idea. Therefore, my goal for anyone is not to do everything. My goal for anyone is just to do something. We can get to everything through a successive use of some things. But what we're not going to do is just try to do everything and fail again, because we already know that that doesn't work. So, Materia, that's what I would hope for you, that you slowly and gradually build up to more and more things like that. Ruby Metal says an ex-friend from pre-diagnosis reached out for the first time in 4 years after cutting you off. Relationship OCD made you toxic, you say. You've been to therapy and I'm a lot better now. Any tips on how to do better this time? Well, the beauty, first of all, is that you're in therapy. So, Ruby, first of all, bring this to your therapist, because I think that's wonderful that you're doing therapy, you're getting some help on it. Number two, some honesty never hurts a situation like this of, I know why we didn't speak for so long, and I want to tell you my part of that and what happened and what I've been doing to make myself better. And if you want to be back in my life, how you can help make sure that I do that as well too. And I hope that that would be a wonderful discussion to have. So, Ruby, let me know how it goes. I'll be interested to hear. Giancarlo says, how can people help themselves in trusting their self when they feel like really giving into their compulsions because it feels too real? Well, I think that we had that earlier, Giancarlo. And I like what Beth said. That's OCD's job, to make it feel so real it keeps you a prisoner. And you're absolutely right. So OCD will always take it to the level that it needs to get you to do a compulsion, until you've decided there is no level anymore OCD can go to that will get me to do a compulsion. That's when OCD is defeated. But if there's always a door open for a compulsion, OCD wins. And that's the way it is. If you have pure OCD, is Googling answers to obsessions a compulsion? Most likely. Yeah. Because, Emily, I'm going to bet you this. If you've Googled the same thing more than once to see if there's different answers or more answers out there now, then yes, those are compulsions. And Louise says, yes, that's researching. That's a compulsion. And it can very much be. And Nick says you're having a tough week and seeking out reassurance. So, Nick, just remember this. If you were in physical therapy and it was a tough week, would it be best to skip it and go back to just keeping your limb immobile? Because that would feel better in the moment, but it wouldn't be better for you in the long term, because what's better in the long term is to probably stretch out those tendons and ligaments and everything like that and get them moving back to the way that they need to be. You ultimately have to decide, Nick, is it okay to be uncomfortable? I hope the answer is yes. I really do. Marion says from earlier tonight, I'm suffering from llama drama and I need to take my medication twice a day and get my haircut. Thank you, Marion. It will be better now. Thank you so very much. I really appreciate it. I love the advice. That was wonderful. Amanda says, what are groinal responses, and are they real arousal and sexual attraction? So groinal responses are over-interpretations of sensations in the middle region of the body. Everybody has sensations in the middle region of the body. OCD will tell you that there are sensations that you shouldn't have at certain times when you're around certain places or people or things. And therefore, those sensations that are fine in another situation are bad in this situation because there they mean something, but here they mean something else. So that's what's actually going on in a groinal response. Now, in terms of, are they real arousal and sexual attraction? What do we mean by real arousal? Well, if your genitals get hard or lubricate, I mean, that is a sign of some kind of arousal going on there. But here's the but. Does that have to mean sexual attraction? No. Here's what we know. Like, sometimes when people are tired, they will have erections or lubricate. Does that mean we're sexually turned on by getting tired? I don't think anybody would say yes, but now does that mean, oh my gosh, I have groinals when I get tired. Oh, I can never get tired again. I have to stay awake for the rest of my life or else I'll get a groinal. No, it just happens. Many men will wake up with erections, right? Well, what if they were dreaming about kitchen remodeling and they woke up with an erection? Does that mean now they can't go in the kitchen because they'll have a groinal in the kitchen? And does that mean they're sexually attracted to the stove? Or does OCD like to make stupid pairings of things and tell you this means that and that's related to that and this is that and now you can never do that again because, well, you want to have sex with your stove, and that would violate your stove. Your stove does not want to have sex with you. But what kind of person are you that you want to have sex with your stove? I mean, why else would you have woken up with an erection while dreaming about remodeling your kitchen unless you're a stove screwer? That's what you are. You're a stove screwer. You're going to have to accept that the rest of your life. Now, when I say it like that, I hope it sounds ridiculous. And I'm sure there's going to be some very funny comments when I scroll down about stove screwers. So. But I absolutely hope that sounds ridiculous. I'm not a stove screwer. What do you... But the other day when I was walking through the park and there were kids playing in the park, I felt a little something move down there and or lubricate down there. And oh my God, does that mean? Oh, what if? And I'm never going to the park again. If I cough around people, does that mean maybe I purposely wanted to get them sick, so now I should never be around people again? If I fart around people, does that mean I was trying to gas them out? Now I can never be around people, or if I have to fart, I have to run outside so I don't actually kill people with my noxious gas emissions, right? All these sound ridiculous. I know, and I'm going ridiculous tonight. I get it. I hear it, right? But here's what I want you to recognize. OCD also sounds ridiculous too. To anybody without OCD, they hear what you're saying and they're like, what? What? Wait. What was that? Huh? What? You did, no. I don't even, wow. Okay. Sure. That's what OCD is like to anybody who doesn't have OCD. But to you, oh yeah, that's sure. Yeah. Okay. Yeah. I mean, that makes, of course. Yeah. Why wouldn't it? I mean, yeah. Yeah. Absolutely. Sure. Yeah. So which one is it? Nick says, I had to talk to a priest with something less than positive, and now you're certain something bad is going to happen to you or your family because you're going to get punished. You thought your car was going to crash. Well, Nick, I'm just going to go with Catholicism, which involves confession, which involves telling priests that are about things in your life that are less than positive, which then means all Catholics after confession are punished, even though given acts of contrition to be able to resolve their sin, and get back into the good graces of their God. No, that was actually a lie. The reason Catholics actually do confession is to collect your sins, and then that way God punishes you. Although, now here's the funny part, Nick. If you believe in a God that's almighty and all-powerful and all-knowing, that God already knows what you did. Going to confession didn't alert that God to the thing. I mean, that God didn't go, oh, wait, I forgot that Nick did that. Yeah, oh, well. He got lucky, he missed out on some punishment. Let's send it down to him today. If that's the case, I mean, an almighty, all-powerful God doesn't forget things, right? I mean, I don't know that it was one of the commandments. Thou shalt go to confession to remind me to punish you. I don't think that's how it works. So, Nick, you may believe this, but that sounds like a great scrupulous belief to me. So, Ruby Metal says, my example about green skin resonates with your relationship and harm OCD. You don't think your OCD is ridiculous for saying I'm a bad person. I know I am. Good. Awesome. I'm glad. See, when we take it outside of ourselves, a couple things to do. Number one, would you tell anyone else you know to have the beliefs that you have? And would you say, hey, my life is better because of this, and I think you should have it too? Or do you hear anyone else's OCD and go, ooh, geez, I missed that one. I should really adopt that. That sounds like a good idea. And take that on. No, right? And then when I do stupid examples like stove screwer and green skin and I'm a llama, you probably all look at that and go, this guy's high or something like that. Or what's he talking about, right? Where did that come from? Well, the brain can make up lots of things. OCD's in the brain and has every advantage of being able to make up things because the brain is very creative. And it will find that one thing that really bugs you, and you will go, not that one. Oh no, anything but that one, please. Just not that one. And OCD will go, haha, gotcha. You're mine. And it's now that one 24/7. Welcome to WOCD, where we play that one over and over and over again. You're on a 77-hour commercial-free over and over and over of that one. And that's what's going to happen. That's what it's going to do. Brainiel says, how do you do treatment for real and false memory OCD? Well, I'll tell you what it's not first. I'm not going to try to convince you of a memory or not of a memory, right? I'm going to get you to live your life even if you have a memory of something or doubt about it, or what if you actually did or didn't do it, and go on and live your life. Now, there'll be guilt probably in that, like, yes, but I shouldn't be able to be freely among people if I actually did this. I should be in jail. And you may have this compulsion. You want to go find the district attorney and tell them, hey, I don't know if I actually did this, but I might have. And are you looking for anybody in this? And all these kinds of things. Or you just work on recognizing that, yeah, I don't really have to listen to what OCD tells me, and I also wouldn't tell anyone else to listen to what OCD tells them. And I mean, maybe it feels more real to me than it does to them, so maybe that's why it's okay for them not to listen, but I have to. Or maybe just let's move on. Let's acknowledge and let's move on. When we do that, then we get the life we want. How do we move past the fear? You're so scared of making the same mistakes due to OCD intrusive thought compulsions. Well, make mistakes then. Learn that you can handle making a mistake. Right? I make mistakes all the time. What fear am I missing? Would my life be better by developing obsessions and compulsions? And would that stop me from making mistakes? I don't think so. In fact, I've worked with enough people with OCD to know that they don't feel that it improves their lives, and they actually don't feel that it stops bad things from happening. In fact, it does things like get in the way of relationships and jobs and friends and schools and all sorts of things, which is why I say if you really believe it's good, just recommend it to everybody else you know as well. But I don't think you're going to do that. Chickens and Frogs says, I have ADHD with OCD along with anxiety and depression. You take Adderall and was on Prozac, and that got you off the OCD thought loop of trying to get certainty on on whether you really had both. Okay, good. Nice work. Armand says, happy leap day, everyone. Yeah, that's fun. Oh, and then I'll go back to chicken frogs. There was some skipping there, and then here we are. You quit the Prozac. Do you both need to be medicated? Well, here's the thing. We have great treatment for OCD, and there are very good behavioral treatments out there. We call it exposure and response prevention. It's a lot of what I've talked about tonight. There are people who do just fine with that and don't need to be medicated for it. There are others who find the combination is best for them. So I think that's a very personal choice. I can't tell you if you should or shouldn't be medicated. I'm going to tell you that you're going to find what's best for you and helps you live the life that you want to live and not the life that your OCD wants you to live. Oh, okay. Now I get to the point where, everyone's saying hi to everybody because now I'm finally getting to when the seminar started here. So, Alok says, how to be consistent in ERP treatment. Some days are really good and some are horrible. How do you build confidence in doing ERP? One of the things you might use is something called the PREMEC principle, where you take something high reinforcing and low reinforcing. So if ERP doesn't feel so reinforcing to you on a given day, but you say love playing video games, you cannot play video games until you do your ERP exercises. And if you skip doing your ERP exercise and you play a video game, you have to put $1 in a jar. And at the end of the week, you have to send that dollar or however many dollars in there to the opposite political party for which you will be voting for in the next election. See if that works. I've done that with people. It's worked really well. Fulbright says, I have health OCD and you worry about lymphoma and other cancers. Sometimes you watch YouTube videos and other entertainment for hours to distract yourself. How do you change this? Well, let's talk about cancer. I mean, people get it. It's uncomfortable. Nobody likes it. Nobody really wants it, I'm figuring. Nobody wants their friends or loved ones to have it. But will health OCD stop cancer? I don't think so. Right? If it did, then every time we went to an oncologist, they would say, all right, we've discovered something brand new. You don't need chemo. You don't need radiation. We're going to give you obsessive compulsive disorder. And we're going to have you do compulsions. And that's going to make the tumor go away. Now, you may not like it. So here's our recommendation. If that's too much to deal with, watch YouTube videos for hours at a time. And then all should be good. That'll be fine. Now, Fulbright, as I say that out loud, and I do this sometimes because in your head, I'm betting this, Fulbright. In your head, all of this makes sense somehow. The moment I say it, it sounds kind of ridiculous, I'm going to bet. So that's why I do this. I never do this to mock people. I never do this to make fun of everyone. I want everyone to understand that here as we say that. I will ridiculously mock OCD and tease the crap out of it because I don't like it. But I will never make fun of or tease anybody who has it. That's never going to happen. Okay? So, Fulbright. You could get cancer. It's a possibility. I could get cancer. It's a possibility. My wife died of cancer. That's a reality. I'm going to give you the statement that I'm kind of famous for, at least here at OCD. And that statement, Fulbright, is this: will you spend the rest of your life living next to your tombstone, wondering when you will be 6 feet under it? Or will you spend the rest of your life having a great time, partying like a rock star, arriving on the day of your death at your tombstone, saying, man, that was a hell of a ride? Fulbright, you're doing the first one right now. My wish for you is to move to the second one. Also, there's a great book out by Josh Spatalnik and Michael Steyer with a foreword by yours truly. And we actually had them on 2 weeks ago. And you might want to go back on YouTube and check that episode out if you haven't seen it yet. We focused a lot on health anxiety in that episode. And so check that out. But check out their book too on health anxiety also. I think that would be very helpful. Is quitting OCD like quitting smoking? It probably feels pretty similar. I'm going to bet. Mm-hmm. CL says, doing ERP while watching, folding laundry without compulsions. Congratulations. That's awesome. We love it. All right, now I got to go down to the end and just got to see some of the comments here, because they're all, you guys are so awesome in just how many comments you give to each other. So I have to just scroll and scroll and scroll and scroll. So Dooley says, do I have OCD myself? No, I do not. However, I will say this. The greatest compliment I've ever received in the OCD world is, I can't believe you don't have OCD because you sure think like you do. And I don't know that there's a better compliment than that, actually. So I absolutely cherish that compliment, because I think, put myself in the heads of people with OCD and think like them. And so, absolutely, Dooley, thanks for asking. And Love Lana says, he understands it and people very well. Thank you. Thank you, Lana, as well. Nervous says he doesn't have OCD, but understands it better than any of us do. Well, thank you, guys. I appreciate it. I want to thank all of you for being here tonight. I know that you could be doing other things, right? You could be out there even just doing compulsions. Tuber says, I like farting jokes. I do. I'm a 12-year-old. I like fart jokes. I think they're awesome. But sex with the stove. Oh, there it is. Yes. Now I found all of that. Yeah. So I know all of you could be doing other things, and you choose to spend your time with me every week. And I cherish that. And I love spending this time with all of you as well too. And I hope that you can leave this hour maybe with some smiles, maybe with a little bit of laughter, maybe with a step back to take a look at, let's not take this OCD thing so seriously, because it really sucks. It's an ass. And maybe we can do things that we want to do instead of everything that OCD wants us to do. So my hope for you is live the life that you want to live, not the life that your OCD wants you to live. And may you all have a great week. We'll see you again next week, everybody. Have a good one.